All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. The 2023 NFL Draft concluded with the Carolina Panthers picking up who they were hoping would be their franchise quarterback for the next decade. The Panthers moved up 8 slots in the first round of the draft to select quarterback Bryce Young. And it was a hefty price tag that the Panthers paid to move up to the first overall pick. As aside from swapping picks, first round picks with the Chicago Bears last year, they also parted with wide receiver DJ Moore as well. But the biggest caveat for the Panthers is that they also had to give up their first round pick in 2024, which is very valuable right now because if the NFL season were to end today, that pick would be first overall in the upcoming NFL draft. Now, the Panthers moved heaven and earth to move up to select Young, who, like this Carolina team as a whole, has struggled so far this season. Currently, the Panthers' offense is 30th in the NFL, as coming into play today, only the two New York teams, the Jets and Giants, were worse than them. Young has been sacked 29 times rather this year in 8 starts, which is the fourth most in the NFL this season. The Panthers, first and foremost, they've got to take care of the offensive line in front of young Mr. Bryce Young. He's a short guy, 5'10", and when I say short, I'm saying short for NFL quarterback standards. And he's not a big guy, but his height of stature means that he's got to be protected. And one question that I'm going to put out there, and I'm sure other people are putting it out there as well, is Frank Reich the right guy at head coach for the Panthers? He's 4-13-1 in his last 18 games as an NFL head coach, and that includes going 3-5-1 to start last year with the Indianapolis Colts before he was fired. Now, fairly or not, Bryce Young is going to forever be compared to the guy who was selected right behind him. And I'm talking about Houston Texans quarterback CJ Stroud, who, is lighting it up right now. He's a clear cut favorite to be the NFL's offensive rookie of the year. You look at his last 2 weeks, a big performance in the comeback win over the Bucks, and then of course going toe to toe with Joe Burrow today as he helped the Texans get the road win over the Cincinnati Bengals. But at the end of the day, listen, it's still too early to write the book on Bryce Young, and it's going to be really tough to write it if the Panthers don't improve the team around him, because we're really not going to know what this young man can do in the National Football League. Bryce Young can throw the football. Bryce Young can do a lot of good things, but again, one person cannot do it by themselves. You need a quality team around you. And right now, we're not seeing that from the Carolina Panthers. Also, for Bryce Young, he's no longer in Tuscaloosa. And I say that because when he was at Alabama for those several years, just slinging the football all up and down, he was throwing it to first rounders at wide receiver. He was handing it off to first round quality running backs, and he had a first round offensive line in front of him. And that's not the case right now for the Carolina Panthers. And it's also, and I'm not trying to like get on their case completely, but don't get me wrong, that first round pick would be beautiful for them right now because then you're talking about the Panthers, getting an offensive lineman or, taking a wide receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr. But obviously, you had to give up something to get that number one pick. And from the Panthers standpoint, last year, if they didn't make that move, they would have been out of the Derby. And then on top of that, you know, credit to the Chicago Bears. And I say this because they had something that several teams wanted because there were other teams out there that wanted to move up to get a Bryce Young or a CJ Stroud. And I give the Carolina Panthers the credit for being aggressive to go out there and make that move. But getting a franchise quarterback and not putting talent around that person is a recipe for disaster. And of course, we saw three quarterbacks rather taken in the top four last year. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Anthony Richardson. And of course, the book is still out on Anthony Richardson as his season was cut short with a shoulder injury for the Indianapolis Colts. But nonetheless, I want to see if this Panthers team is going to be able to make some improvements over the final three games, the second half rather of the regular season. I want to see if this Panthers offense is going to be able to make some improvements. Their last three games, 41 points. That's what the Panthers have been able to score. And if you go back to this past Thursday night when the Panthers fell to the Chicago Bears 16-13, the only touchdown that the Panthers got in that contest was on a punt return. Now you look at it, you're hopeful if you're a Panthers fan, you're hopeful if you're a member of the Panthers organization that this team will show some improvement over the rest of this month as well as the month of December. It's not going to be easy. The Carolina Panthers, they host the Dallas Cowboys this Sunday. Then they've got three straight road games at Tennessee, at Tampa Bay, and then at New Orleans. And then three out of their last four are at home with Atlanta, Green Bay, and Tampa Bay, as well as a road game against the Jacksonville Jaguars come New Year's Eve. But you're looking at it like this: the number one option on the offense for Bryce Young to go to is veteran wide receiver Adam Thielen. But this team has a lot of holes. And now that they, had to give up their first round pick for 2024, it's going to be very difficult for them to plug said holes on this team going forward, at least in the near future. But nonetheless, let's see what they can do for Bryce Young. Let's see what they're going to do around Bryce Young. And again, let's see if Frank Reich is a long-term answer for the Panthers as head coach. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, it's not. It's. I'm not going to say it's a troubling start for Bryce Young's NFL career. It's a tough start, but we have seen many great quarterbacks who started off slow and they got things turned around. Let's just see if the Panthers are going to move forward and put the proper pieces around Bryce Young in order for him to succeed. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out, drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.